What's going on, guys? Welcome to Looking Ahead to Beto Days, and we have a bit of a special episode. We have the wonderful Katrina Ryan with us. We are doing a bit of a road trip. Also, Bodhi and Flynn are in the back, so you might pick them up. But we are driving from rally to rally. We just left the Amy Klobuchar rally here in Norfolk. Tuesday is Super Tuesday here in Virginia and across the country, and we thought we could get you a little bit of insight into the candidates, and to say that the Amy rally was, what'd you say, uninspiring?
Uninspiring. Well, I mean, Amy didn't show. We got her husband, who is a law professor and kind of dry.
Kind of super dry. Bodhi liked it. He clapped because other people were clapping, but he seemed like a nice guy, but that's about as far as I can get you.
I mean, he made the typical Amy pitch, want to be president of all of the people, gave her record on winning in Republican places, which to me, the single most compelling argument of Amy Klobuchar is that she won Michelle Bachmann's district. That's crazy, right?
Interesting. I did not know that. I'm not as well versed on Amy Klobuchar. She was originally where I thought I was going to end up, but I didn't do any research because I was waiting for Beto, and then Beto announced, and
and then
full steam ahead. Yeah. And so it's been interesting. She's definitely my favorite of the three that we are seeing this week.
As an old campaign hack, the most interesting thing about Amy Klobuchar from the beginning is she kind of got written off, and you didn't see much of anything about her, but her staff, they were always, nope, we're hitting our matrix, we've raised what we want to raise, we're going to make the next debate, and nobody even noticed, and they've never been wrong. So that kind of grinding along, getting stuff done, I guess that Protestant work ethic.
Yeah, I'm all about hard work. I mean, we both busted our asses doing ballot petitions, and for the uninitiated, they're awful.
Especially in areas where there are no Democrats.
So that was a lot of fun.
You know what? You can make any day fun.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Especially when you have Flynn. Flynn has always been really good with the getting out and meeting people.
Flynn is the single best campaign tool anywhere because he engages people in ways that are not threatening.
Right. He's a nice, sweet dog. Are you trying to get up here?
Yeah, Flynn wants to come up front.
This kind of stuff is going to be great for podcast because you can't see, but I can. It's good stuff.
We have a giant red dog trying to ride shotgun.
Who has to climb over a baby to get there. But yeah, this is Bodhi's first appearance on the show, mostly because he doesn't talk that much. I say intelligibly. He says all sorts of stuff. He lets you know when he is not happy. But
Bodhi was actually a fan. He had a good time at the Amy Klobuchar rally.
He did. That's he's done Beto rallies. He's met Beto before, but he's never done like a real out in the wild with somebody that he's not familiar with. Beto he was familiar with because of all the work I did. You saw lots of pictures. So to see his reaction to everything was kind of neat, especially since I found her husband to be super boring.
To me, the most interesting thing, and I got there a little bit before you did, about the whole rally is where they chose to have it. Elation is a brewery in Norfolk in kind of a transitional hipster area.
Yep.
The place was crazy with kids and dogs, a much younger demographic than I think of with Amy. And you did not make a bathroom stop, but they actually have yoga in the mornings in the brewery at Elation. So it is the most non-club thing you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, it's right off of campus from Old Dominion University. Which is it's definitely a unique setting. Now, it wasn't what I expected at all. I expected her to be closer down to the Ghent area. For those of you who don't know where that is at, it's a bit of the hipster area.
Into which I believe we're crossing right now.
Oh yeah, we're in Ghent right now. This is down where the Narrow Theater is. It's an old school movie theater where they have independent movies that play all the time. They do film festivals. So this is not what I think of when I think of Amy Klobuchar. But if you're trying to get out that young demographic, and that's going to be important, especially going into Tuesday, where, I mean, didn't you say that turnout for, I guess, early in North Carolina has been real low?
I have been tracking turnout in North Carolina because certain candidates who shall remain nameless are promising us a revolution of young voters. And to give you an idea, the quasi-fascists at Duke have turned out at about 14 to 16%, but UNC has turned out at about 3%, and Durham, where Bernie had his last rally, has turned out at 1.8% thus far in early voting. And we have 2 weeks of early voting. So there is no young revolution coming in North Carolina.
And that's one of the things we really, I've been pushing. I have picked no candidate. Honestly, the candidate that could have garnered my vote and kept me from just writing Beto in big letters on my ballot was Amy, and it's a little disappointing not just to get her husband, but I get it. I like her policy. I like her tenacity, and I like the fact that she's a hard worker. That to me, because I mean, like I said, me and Katrina got out and busted ass in getting these CD 2 and 3, and you did 9 and 5, some dumb out in Western Virginia in the mountains where there are like 5 people.
To give you an idea of how infrequently they see a Democrat out in the 9th District, we went out on Beto's Western Virginia sweep, and we followed him getting our first bunch of ballots in 5, 6, and 9, which is 3 districts. But we came back 3 months later, and just wearing a Beto shirt, stopping in the Starbucks, trying to get out, they go like, hey, there's so few Democrats that just blonde girl in a Beto shirt, they recognize me. That's how infrequently it happens.
That's funny. It's real red out there, lots of mountains. But yeah, that's our impression from the Klobuchar rally. We are
club.
Right. We are heading out to. Oh yeah, now you.
Bodhi is all in on the club.
All in. We need to get you a T-shirt. Anyway, now he'll be able to vote in 17 years, which I'm not going to get into because I don't make a point of crying on my podcast.
Yeah, but but I'm from Chicago. I think we can fix that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But we're heading to the Sanders rally. So I've never been to a Sanders rally. I have a few friends who are Sanders supporters. I am not. I honestly think he's going to have an incredibly hard time beating Trump because the most important thing here is Republican swing voters. Trump has turned off so many Republicans that, those are the kind of votes that we're going to need to win in November, at least in my opinion. And I think a lot of the things that Bernie Sanders wants to do, while ideally would be nice, are going to push those voters away.
I never vote on policy because if you go back forever, campaign promises don't necessarily match what happens once someone is elected.
Right, like Mexico's going to build the wall.
Mexico's going to build the wall. President Obama, who I love and admire and respect, told us that he was going to pull out of Iran and Afghanistan. Did not happen. Told us he was going to close Guantanamo. Did not happen. So being able to work with Congress, and especially with the Senate, is really what determines the agenda that will happen. My biggest concern, Lord willing and correct, but if Sanders wins, he still has the problem of not being able to work with Congress. And can you imagine, like Abigail Spanberger, a Virginian right here, in Congress, who says, I'm not voting for Medicare for all, the way that women especially are harassed and targeted, etc., by his supporters, to me, it's like a reign of terror. I don't see anything good out of Bernie Sanders getting elected.
I'm kind of in the same boat there. But that being said, we could go in here and be completely amazed. I very highly doubt it, but my expectations are low. That being said, my expectations were real low going into Star Wars Episode 9, and that movie found a way to let me down and repeatedly stab me.
I live in a crazy neighborhood. The Nazis that marched last August, 8 miles north of my house, the people who were intimidating early voters with the Confederate flags, the giant ones in front of that is about 9 miles south of my house. And Bernie Sanders actually won my home precinct. Now, our precincts have been shuffled, and so I'm not in that precinct anymore. But the precinct I was in 2016, he carried 62 to 38. So I live in an area where there is a lot of Sanders sentiment. So I'm sort of interested to see who shows up here, because it's not a young area. It's a pretty wealthy area. It's halfway between UNC and Duke, almost exactly as the crow flies.
It is it is down at Virginia Wesleyan University, which I have heard of living in Virginia. However, I don't know anyone who has ever gone there. I just straight fucking ran that red light. That light changed so fast, and this is the kind of stuff you get here. There was nobody coming, so we are all safe and okay. I think they did that because of the tide, which would have made things way worse.
What does this traffic light have to do with the tide?
That's the crossway. That's where the tide goes by. The tide is it's a.
The tide rolls up on 4 banks?
No. It's the transport system.
I'm from Texas. There's no
public transit.
No water.
Oh, gotcha. Desert. Gotcha. No, that was weird. Like that light was like, and then it was red.
Yeah.
I guess, weird. So that's the kind of stuff you guys are going to get from Road Trip Podcast. We're heading down to, that's how you feel about it too?
Bernie?
How do you feel about Bernie?
Are you a Bernie guy?
He's going to pay off my mom's student loans, and we can now live at Prince and Grandpa's. Hell yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so, when we walk out of this rally, we will check back in. We are going to do the Joe Biden rally tomorrow.
Anybody else we can track down in the Cavalier State.
Yep. If there's anybody else rolling through here, we will.
We are on it.
We are on it. So tune in. Okay, that's not why we're saying tune in. I'm going to edit this shit all together.
Yep.
Right. But
After the obligatory mattress commercial, right? After the obligatory mattress
commercial. It's not my pillow. Fuck that guy. All right, so we are leaving the Bernie Sanders rally, which has way more SUVs than I think I would have expected.
It's in a pretty swanky area.
It's in a very nice area. Virginia Wesleyan is in a nice area of Virginia Beach. It just could have been the place that they could find that was big enough, because there are a metric fuck ton of people out here. There were a lot of people in there.
It was standing room only. We were inside, but they were taking people to overflow.
Yep.
But the capacity on the hall, they told us, was only 2,600. So it is by no means, a 10,000 person rally.
No, not even close. But from the things that I saw, it sounded exactly like what I would think I'd hear at a Bernie Sanders rally, to be completely honest with you. So what are your thoughts, Katrina?
I was completely shocked at how utterly bumfuzzled the crowd was. They had, a union activist there talking about protecting you when your boss fires you or when you have a complaint, and Bernie is the only campaign that actually has active union complaints against him, so I found that pretty ironic. The second speaker to introduce it, she is not Native American born, and so she talked about immigration, and oddly enough, Bernie has spent his entire career voting against immigration bills. And then the third speaker, the veteran who introduced him, I found, typical platitudes about taking better care of our veterans. And Bernie himself came up and touted his time as the chair of the Veteran Services Committee, and nobody at the VA likes Bernie. The big VA hospital scandal where they got all of the bonuses and there were the wait times and they were hiding it and people actually died. Bernie actually protected those employees that perpetrated that scandal. And that is a lot of the reason that he is not on the Veteran Services Committee anymore. So they're low information voters. What Bernie voters have in common with Trump voters is they're very low information voters because that was an entire.
Yeah, they seem to like really get into that, and just in a little bit of time that we spent there, and the amount of time that since we got in the car, Katrina pulled out her iPad, was able to like all of this information that we're talking about, and this is coming on the heels of Bernie not winning South Carolina. We rolled in, got into parking, which was just absolutely fucking ridiculous, by the way. It came on the heels of Joe Biden winning South Carolina, which, not a surprise, but kind of a surprise. I'm not a Biden supporter in the least. But, that's big for Joe. It's a big deal. We'll see what comes out of Tuesday.
I mean, well, he's been running since, for 32 years. So his first, as a Cubs fan, not winning for 108 years, I know it feels like a pretty big thing.
That's why it's good to be a Yankees fan. We win a lot. All we do is win, no matter what. Unless you bang a fucking trash can. That's for you, Houston listeners.
We're always doing baseball.
I talk baseball. I talk baseball a lot on the show. And,
all politics can be history, and baseball metaphors can cover every single political situation.
Pretty much.
So, I was also surprised at what an obviously bad sport Bernie is. He came on, and he was very obviously pouty and dejected. I mean, nobody expected him to win South Carolina.
But he sounded like somebody stole his puppy.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just back to bedtime. I don't know.
It could be that, too. I wasn't impressed with that. If, it's coming on the heels of a loss in South Carolina. He's won the first three. And it's not just him. They're all really bad about it. I haven't seen any of them be very gracious. Now, I haven't heard any of them talk after a win. I mean, I have heard Buttigieg claim that he won Iowa. But, it is what it is. But there's not a lot of camaraderie, and, at the end of the day, they're going to need these motherfuckers to help beat Trump. The nominee is going to need everybody who's running against.
I was surprised at how kind of upbeat and friendly the crowd was.
Yeah.
It was not at all, it was not at all the cliche Bernie crowd. I did notice that there was sort of virtually no one of working age, that they were college students or retirees.
Yeah, there's a big disparity in age. It was a lot more diverse than I saw at the Klobuchar rally, which I don't think we mentioned then. It was mostly a white crowd. And in Norfolk, in downtown Norfolk, granted we're on ODU's campus, you would have thought.
That's Old Dominion University, for those who are not participating.
Yep, Old Dominion University, go Monarchs. There wasn't a lot of diversity for a very diverse area. I went to school there, and I went to school with people from everywhere.
Now, granted, the venue that they chose was not it was a hipster cliche.
It was very much
okay, so. It was a group hub that also had yoga classes in the morning. So, it was sort of the crowd I would expect to see at a group hub.
In an afternoon on a Saturday.
But it was kids and dogs and babies. It was very gentrifying.
Yeah, nope, definitely. And again, backing that up to, ODU sits in between a rather well-off area and an area that is less well-off. And so, you'd think that you'd be able to pull from both. And if you can't tell, Bodhi has gotten himself to a point where he is sleepy.
Oh, he wants lemonade.
Oh, okay. He can have some lemonade. Just don't let his mother listen to this podcast. I doubt it. He'll be alright. He's got his. When we drop you off, I'll grab him his cup.
I don't think it's hey, buddy. What if I do? Okay, we're gonna get a shot.
You can do it.
Answer obligatory mattress commercial.
Not fucking my pillow guy.
There you go.
One thing I noticed, and I gauge things off of how babies and dogs are treated. Real talk, Bodhi had the most fun at the Bernie rally. There was music. He was running around.
The music was definitely better. The live music at the Klobuchar event wasn't the best.
It was your very stereotypical college band, whereas the band that opened up for Bernie was like a hip-hop band, but it was like a band. It wasn't just somebody with a turntable. They actually had instruments and stuff, which is, I'm a big hip-hop fan. And I like when hip-hop does stuff like that. I like bands like that. It was
They were also, choice of music, whatever, they were just better.
Way better.
It was obviously like people would get paid for making music as opposed to open mic night. Exactly.
And and this is funny actually, the bassist for the band at the Klobuchar rally that was played before them was rocking a Bernie Sanders t-shirt.
Well, yeah.
So, but it's overall with Bernie, you could tell that he wasn't happy that he lost.
And he had nothing new to say. It was the same 5 sentences that he's been saying for 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. And
now we fucked out early because of parking, so he may be attacking Mike Bloomberg as we speak.
Yeah.
He might have that new gig going on.
Yeah, well, we will pick that up on the news here shortly. We did get interviewed by the New Yorker. That was fun.
We did get interviewed by the New Yorker.
I think that comes with the territory of traveling to political rallies with a baby and a dog. But Katrina's also wearing her Beto sweatshirt, and I'm wearing my Betoism t-shirt, which is awesome.
I wear my Beto shirt everywhere. So I have worn it to a Mike Bloomberg rally, to a Klobuchar rally, to a Harris rally, to a Bernie rally, I have not gone to a Buttigieg event.
I haven't been to a Buttigieg event either. I'm still missing Warren, Buttigieg, and Biden. Biden will catch up tomorrow.
Oh, I have to say, this is my favorite, big Bloomberg Bigfoot story. At the Bloomberg event in Raleigh, they literally paid Warren to use for parking for Mike Bloomberg's buses. Mike Bloomberg's buses parked in Elizabeth Warren's office space.
Interesting turn of events.
That, by the way, would be my secret inside favorite is if Bloomberg were elected president that we should make Elizabeth Warren be his vice president.
Right? He's already paid for parking. And say what everybody on here's heard me talk about Warren before. I've warmed up to her slightly. Some of her stuff with education does still bug me, and some of the things that she said pertaining to such, and her, having worked in that field, because she was there for a year.
Part time.
And as somebody who teaches and goes into the trenches every day with kids, that's something that bugs the absolute hell out of me. Because it's not just a teacher, it's the students too. You're in it together, and you've heard me talk about this before. A couple weeks ago, we had to spend 45 minutes on the floor in the dark because somebody decided it'd be cool to threaten the school and another school, and they didn't know what the hell was going on. So, granted, she taught back in, 70s?
Yeah, she said she was 21. She's now 70. 20, so it's 50 years ago, so 1970, 71, yep.
Yep, so somewhere around in there. Completely different time. We live in a post-Columbine world, post-Virginia Tech, and all of that stuff. But, they had I mean, they had nuclear bomb drills and stuff like that. That's still scary.
Yeah.
And keeping people calm, whether you know it's a drill or not. Ours wasn't a drill. Like, I literally sat on the floor and put my head against the door so I could listen to what was going on and tell my kids if I could. As soon as I could hear the security guards laughing and kind of they were going through lockers. They knew we needed a drill anyways, so they took that time to do that. But because of how good our security staff is, they checked every locker. So, I mean, I'm thankful for the security staff I have at my school. They are just phenomenal, all of them. But, you know, I had to communicate to the kids because they don't know.
Yeah.
It's scary. So, you know, we've been to Klobuchar, which was disappointing because we got her husband and not her herself. We've been to Bernie. We did see Bernie, but Bernie, again, sounded like somebody stole his puppy.
It was completely different than I thought. It feels like the energy of the crowd speaks itself, because none of the speakers that we saw did I find particularly compelling.
The one who spoke after the union worker, she talked about immigration and all of that. She had the most energy. She had the most energy. She was very loud and obviously very passionate about what she was saying.
But from the crowd standpoint, they really, to me, feed more on each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Bernie energy really is the crowd. It really isn't anything that's going on stage.
No, not at all. It is definitely them, because they were doing chants before.
Oh yeah, it was like going to a Philly chant.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was like a sporting event.
Yeah.
It's like.
All right. So Hannah has now called twice. I picked up, and all is right with the world. So what I was saying was the energy at the Bernie, like what me and Katrina were saying, was the energy at a Bernie rally is kind of like a concert, right? And I was talking about going to metal shows. I go and see a band called August Burns Red once or twice a year, every year. And every time before they come on stage, they play Chop Suey by System of a Down. And it's just the house music, the lights are on, and everybody goes berserk. Like, they start the mosh pits, everybody gets into it. It was like that. There's something to be said for the energy of a crowd if they can get pumped up by the music that you play beforehand.
But these guys were pumped up even without the music. Like, they were kind of feeding on their own, you know, whatever the burniness is.
Yeah.
That was, you know.
They were feeling the burn.
Yeah.
They were
absolutely feeling the burn, and they didn't give us any of whatever it was. But like,
no.
It was. I mean, I didn't feel motivated to go out and vote for Bernie. And that's one thing. A friend of mine went to Bernie's rally in El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
And she stood in line, and she said that she saw kind of everybody go. And she didn't bother to go in because she was just having lunch close to the venue.
Mm-hmm.
But she saw people in line. And it was a Texas early vote rally, obviously. And that most of the people, very few, you know, they did like a protest march down to the early voting spot. And almost nobody went. That instead they broke off and went to bars, which that does not surprise me at all. And then that does not. I can see this crowd doing that. That they're not necessarily going to vote. That it's more about the experience.
Yeah, I can see that. That can be said for a lot of politicians, but I mean, I really felt that here.
Yeah, I mean, that's not Beto energy, though, man. I can't even imagine.
No, Beto energy is that
it's all about the voting, man.
Uh-huh. All right, guys, we are going to get back to you when we go to Joe Biden tomorrow. So,
unless we stalk some other politician in the meantime.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna be on it.
All right, guys, we are back in the car going to see Joe Biden. We have a more full car this time. Hannah has joined us on the final leg of the journey, and I think the vast majority of the listeners are Biden supporters. I have not bought into Biden. I kind of get it, but it's not my bag. But again, I'm still pretty wide open. What are you expecting to see?
Joe Biden. Now, I don't know what to think of Biden then, because Biden voters don't tend to be the types of people that go to political rallies. I mean, political rallies are really something fairly new. If you think about it, it's not even back in 2008. There were meetings and there were fundraisers and stuff, but there weren't big rah-rah, gym campaigns. They were small coffee shops, blah, 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 eggs kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So more traditional older voters are like, look, I'm going to the polls. That's what you get, man. I'm not holding the sign and cheering.
I don't need to do that. I can just.
Yeah, it's not a dead concert.
Exactly.
So I think that it's probably going to be smaller.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably going to be older, and I think it's probably going to be blacker than anything that we've done thus far. That would be my guess.
Okay, I can get that. We're going to be down in downtown Norfolk at Booker T. Washington High School, so I think was the demographic he's going for specifically. Bodhi is back, by the way. If you can't hear him, he is making sure to get his opinions in. He loved the Bernie rally, by the way. He had the best time. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see him because he was Vice President of the United States, so that's one thing that I'm kind of excited to see about him. But it doesn't have a lot to do with his campaign per se.
I am an old campaign hack, and Joe Biden has always been awful at running for president. I mean, terrible. Has never gotten a single delegate in his previous runs. So I have been a Biden skeptic and remain a Biden skeptic. It's not a personal judgment. He is a good guy, and a person with great character. There's a lot of those. That shouldn't make you president.
Yeah, we're looking more for electability at this point, as opposed to, is he a good guy? Because I honestly, other than Bernie I see as kind of like an old grump, but I think all of them are nice people. I'm not looking for a nice guy per se. Like, I want them to be nice, but I also want them to have substance. I want them to have plans. I want them to be able to enact those plans, and I need them to be able to get elected to do so. But to kind of, go back on your point, you said he's never won before. He won Saturday. He won last night for the first time in 32 years.
In a state that is absolutely nothing like anywhere in the country. Have you been to South Carolina?
A few times.
Right. Like, South Carolina is not any place most of us would want to live. It's got an incredibly high poverty rate. You don't live in Hilton Head or Charleston along the beach. It's rural, it's swampy, it's underdeveloped, there's not Wi-Fi. It is not it's, for as much as the press wants to make a big deal on South Carolina, we're not going to win South Carolina in the general, and I don't know that a whopping victory in a place that dances right up on being in the third world is a huge endorsement.
Still a win. A win is a win is a win. And, I mean, even if you beat...
Yeah, but if you beat the Minnesota Twins, are you as excited about it as if you beat the New York Yankees?
That's fair. That is fair. I was going to say beating the Cleveland Browns is not a...
That bad.
The Twins were actually good last year.
I might not be able to hang in politics, but I can hang in baseball. Okay, but the Minnesota Twins are not traditionally, a team in the playoffs.
That's fair.
I don't see a win in South Carolina translating to anything maybe other than a win in Alabama on Super Tuesday. There's not any South Carolina-like states in Super Tuesday. He's super behind. He's got $5 million. He raised $5 million.
In 24 hours.
Yeah, so what? Which...
Do I need to turn here?
Michael Bloomberg makes $107 million a day.
Yeah, that must be nice.
So, it's still nowhere near enough to put the kind of game on the ground that he needs.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie Sanders has 23 offices in California.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden has 1.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't plan. He didn't fundraise early. He spent the whole summer doing whatever Joe Biden does in the summer, but it certainly was not campaigning. And so this whole idea that Joe Biden is he electable as a personality? Yes, probably. Is he a good campaigner? Does he build a strong campaign? Not so much.
I think the most functional one that we've seen is Bloomberg, and that's because he's got the money to do it. And like my father-in-law was talking about Mike Bloomberg today and how he brought up the commercial with the ladies who were saying it was or the women that were saying that they worked for him. It was the best job they ever had, and that's the message he's getting out there.
I know people and like super granola crunching lefty Warren supporters who work for Mike Bloomberg and are like blood loyal to him, would never leave. He's a great employer. Now, does that make him a great human being? No, not so much. But it doesn't matter. He's got an electoral Death Star, and Joe Biden ain't no Luke Skywalker.
Fair. That is fair. I don't know. Biden to me seems very cookie cutter. There's not much special there. Now, again, I'm going into this very much undecided. Beto was out. I went undecided. My whole shtick is I want to win Congress. Fuck the rest of it. Let's win Congress. But again.
Well, if that's your deal, Klob's your gal. To me, I mean, if you can win Michelle Bachmann's district as a Democrat, consequently, I think that's a reasonably the same on the flip side argument from Bloomberg. If you can win New York City as a Republican, there's some cross-party, cross-demographic appeal. This is my favorite Beto booklet. If you took every single vote that Joe Biden ever got in every one of his Senate races and added them all together, you still get less actual people clicking, a lever in the voting box than Beto got in his one Senate campaign.
Yeah. We definitely need that. We need that man in office. We need his voice. And I've heard a lot of people talking about, Joe Biden needs to announce who his VP is and all of that. And I don't know if Beto jumps on to Biden's campaign. I mean, he might, but
he hasn't really endorsed. My personal feelings as a native Texan are more that Beto is our George Washington. Texas is George Washington. He's our essential man. To deliver us from the bondage of the Republican Party, we need Beto. So
Bodhi really agrees with you. Bodhi loves Beto, by the way.
So and I know that Biden's campaign has sung the siren song of Beto as VP, and that's why there's a lot of Beto supporters who've gone Biden. I would rather see Beto in a relevant cabinet position and run for governor of Texas in 2 years. Having watched the campaign, Beto is so much more Beto in the South, and specifically in Texas, than he was in Iowa or New Hampshire. You can tell he didn't like New Hampshire.
He was a bit out of his element in those areas. Texas is definitely unique. It always has been unique.
Country business.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It is its own country, and anybody who argues that is not Texas.
Yeah, no. Up until the Civil War, it was written in their Constitution that they could get the hell out anytime they wanted, if they wanted to. So it's definitely its own place.
And to me, and this is my bias and where my heart is, and everything else that flipping Texas, making Texas Democratic is the whole ball of wax. And it might not happen in 2020, but I'm perfectly fine with that being the field that Beto's playing on.
I honestly hope he goes for he gets Homeland Security. I think he could do some really good things in Homeland Security.
I think Homeland Security is way too oppressive for Beto's spirit.
Well, they just.
I think HHS. I think
that's what I meant. HHS.
I think HHS. It's rethinking of immigration, and get that. Here's where I'm going to go. I think Secretary of State. I have a lot of friends in Europe. The only other person they know is Beto. It's like he's the tall, good-looking one from Texas, isn't he?
He's the tall, good-looking one from Texas.
I think he's got major mojo as Secretary of State.
You know what, and I can see that he's personable. He's got some of that, a little bit of that younger vibe, to be able to get along with somebody like a Macron or I can't believe his name, Trudeau, be able to get along with them in a capacity that they don't instantly hate him like they do Mike Pompeo. To be fair, Mike Pompeo is a dick.
I don't know Mike Pompeo well enough to comment on his personality. But Beto thinks of things in a very different way, in a much broader, and I hate to say intersectional because it always gets about race, but that the way that he thinks about the Americas versus the world. He was also the only guy in the campaign talking about the real rise and threat of authoritarianism. So he's thinking differently. And my friend who trains diplomats in Russia policy for the State Department said, I really like your guy. I wish people would take him more seriously. He's too good looking.
Hey, it worked for Kennedy.
It did work for Kennedy, but meaning that he got credited as an empty shirt, or hit as an empty shirt because all people saw was the long tail back.
It's true. It's fair. And that's a fair criticism.
And this is, she's been doing it for 25 years, and she has trained, she's a Russia policy expert. So
I trust him to learn things if he doesn't know them. Like, I expect Beto to not just, oh shit, I don't know anything about, Nigeria, whatever. I'm
going to yell Medicare for all and rigged, and that's going to be my talking point for everything?
Yeah, no, he's gonna do the research. Yeah. He'll do the work. And, you don't see that as much from a lot of these other guys. The line for the Biden event is rather long. We're standing here, and by standing I mean sitting in the car, because obviously that's what he said.
I'm shocked that there was a line for a Biden event. I am not going to lie.
It's definitely something. I mean, we didn't see a line at all for Amy, but I think by the time we got there, word had gotten out that Amy was not going to be there, and that it was going to be her husband. But, we plan early and show up early to fucking everything, so we were there. The line looks to be pretty long. What we need to do is find a place to park.
High schools are always awful places as far as parking.
Yeah. But all right, guys, because I don't want to wreck my car and kill all of us, I'm going to go ahead and shut it off here, and we will get back to you after we get out of the rally. All right, guys, we are bringing you the last leg of this road trip. We have just left the Biden rally. It's definitely been the longest one.
It's a lot of speakers, like every elected official in Virginia minus the very unpopular governor.
Yeah, it was just, it was every major Democrat in Virginia. He definitely pulled out all the stops. They put on the dog and pony show
Dog and pony?
Horse and pony, whatever. I don't know.
But
they put on a show.
It was much more traditional than any rally I've seen this political season. High school gym, the high school band playing.
Yep.
Flags. Beto never had a flag anywhere.
Yep.
Not a brewery, not a coffee shop.
Yeah, we've done breweries, we've done college campuses, but this is our first high school.
It had a lot more community feel to it.
It did. I liked that a lot. I have to say, I had the most fun at the Biden rally. Now, if fun equates to votes, I don't know. We can speculate about a ton of things. He's definitely got the support of some really prevalent Democrats, at least in Virginia, for sure.
I think that's one of the reasons that Buttigieg dropped out is because he does okay with the military vote in Virginia. And so I think on promise of a job, I would venture to speculate that is why young Mr. Buttigieg is no longer with us.
Which is funny because we hadn't talked about that yet. As we were going in, I broke the news to a Biden staffer whose name I did not get, but she was wonderful. I liked her a lot. And Buttigieg just dropped out. So Buttigieg is done. And all of us Beto supporters are stoked about it because none of us liked him. But I really liked his staff, and I kept running into Beto's staff because Beto's staff, a lot of them went to Biden. I think that's what's driven a lot of this love for Biden that we've seen.
Well, I mean, and I could make the Beto case for any of the candidates that have left. I'm glad that I don't have to do it for Pete.
Yeah.
But
he can run for governor now, though. Pete for governor.
Yeah, of Indiana. But Biden is the only one really talking in the same way, about losing what the country is forever, and that's very Beto. Now, I think Biden and Beto see different countries as to what we could lose, but that same sort of, see clearly, or we're going to die in our sleep. This is our moment type.
Yeah.
Energy.
Beto definitely has it is now or never feel.
And
they're trying to harness that. I get that feel. I got that feel.
And Joe Biden is working that theme. I do have trouble. Jesus, is he old? Holy cow, he looks old.
Oh man, Joe looked old.
And he sounded old. And he didn't have kind of strength of voice of younger. Now, granted, he's had a busy couple of days.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that could absolutely be a factor.
But it did not make me feel confident.
No. I think age is going to be a problem, and you mentioned this after Buttigieg dropped out, that Joe Biden is now the youngest male running for president. And, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that was my inside too, Hannah. That was I'm
crying on the inside, laughing on the outside, maybe.
I really, honestly, I just want somebody from my generation who understands what the fuck it's like to be a part of my generation. Joe Biden doesn't know what it's like to have crippling student loans. Bernie Sanders doesn't know what it's like to have crippling student loan debt. And same thing, obviously, Mike Bloomberg does not know. That being said, Mike Bloomberg, if you want to pay him, buddy, I got you. I'll do whatever you want.
I don't need somebody to know what it's like. I just need somebody to have a solution.
Exactly.
I don't need somebody to wipe out my debt. I need somebody to help me pay it off in an easier way when I've been paying it for 4 years now on time, payments in full every month, but I can't refinance it just to make my payments a little bit easier. That's my issue.
Both Beto and Amy Klobuchar's plan was to be able to refinance it at Treasury rates. So basically, the idea is that you shouldn't be making money on students.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is a financial benefit to the economy of getting money into people's hands. They can buy houses, they can buy cars, that creates jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a good financial argument for that. I don't know that spending $51 trillion, something like that, on student debt, $20 trillion.
Some stupid number.
To wipe out all student debt is the way to go. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that could do a lot of good talking about education other than just wiping out all student debt.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I haven't heard anybody tell me any plausible plans other than we're going to fire Betsy DeVos, which is duh, because she won't be in your cabinet. She's a cabinet member. She absolutely won't be because you're going to boot her ass out, which is great. But how are you going to fix all of the awful shit she's tried to do? Because that woman, exactly, Bodhi, awful shit she's tried to do. If you, in the eyes of education, she's the devil. She's the Darth Vader of education, the Skeletor, whatever, Mum-Ra. We can throw whatever 80s, late 70s reference at you, and it probably will stick. She's pretty terrible. So that's not going to do any good. How are you going to fix what she's done?
The real trouble, if we're going to go into education for any instance, the real trouble is separation of power. Mm-hmm. The federal government can sing a great, whoever's running for president can sing a great song about raising teacher pay and blah, 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 but they're actually not empowered to do it. Mm-hmm. Like the Affordable Care Act and the Medicare expansion, they can say, we as the federal government will give you $20,000 extra per, and they can just now. Because if it's the if it is a Republican small government that they want to privatize schools, that is their goal, they don't have to take the money.
No, they don't. Which is why we need to keep Congress. We've got to keep Congress for real. That's like I've been saying this. We mentioned it before. I talked about it on on last week's episode with Rhonda Hart about how important Congress is. If we want to get anything done, we need.
Let's talk about more fun stuff. Like gossip.
Ooh, I like gossip. Gossip is always good.
Okay, so I will speculate.
All right.
Based on drunks that I know that hang out with politicians.
It's always fun.
That the Buttigieg dropout was a deal that was cut.
All right.
And that Amy Klobuchar will drop out after Super Tuesday.
All right.
Because both Amy and Warren are popular and Bernie is popular. So like Massachusetts and Minnesota, Warren is very easily viable. So she will keep his delegate count down in bluish states. The club will also suck up delegates that she can give to Biden in Minnesota. So I think there has been a deal cut.
Interesting. Politics is very interesting. Huh.
Like Roman
I find that kind of gross.
I mean, yeah. I feel you on that one. It's unfortunate that that's the political game that's being played. I don't get down with that shit. Not one bit. Yeah, I'm a Bedouin.
If you're Joe Biden and you're facing the electoral Death Star that is Michael Bloomberg on one side, and the attack of the clones that is Bernie Sanders on the other side, and you ain't no Luke Skywalker, you call in Han Solo.
No, I get it. I just find it gross.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, that's why the metaphor with Star Wars works so well.
He's a crook. He's a thief. But you got to do what you got. But he has the Millennium Falcon. Which in this case is delegate votes in Massachusetts.
Exactly.
So,
I just kind of feel like that's where everybody's at this point. Is everybody's saying, I don't care who the nominee is now, as long as it's Democrat, I'm voting for them. And that just feels like what that scenario is, which I get, and it's
I have a problem with that. To me, and I've been railing about this for a while, I feel like blue no matter who is bullying. That's a bullying kind of movement.
I get that.
And I also, if you're a little bit of a nerd burger, I also feel like the Yale obedience study is coming into play here. There's an awful lot of people through an awful lot of, well, you just have to do this. This is what you, with no reason whatsoever that you should have to vote for Biden. But they just go, it's just Biden. But you have to do it. But you have to. And people are just falling.
They do the same thing with Bernie. If it's Bernie, you're going to vote for him? Well, I mean, what if I don't?
Well, I'm a non-obeyer. I'm a contrarian. There's literally nothing that you tell me to do that I go, okay, nothing. Even if something that I like, you tell me to do it, I'm essentially still a toddler.
Which Bodhi had another great time, by the way. We haven't talked about the Bodhi meter just yet. He had himself a blast. He danced.
Well, they had drum lines and horn, a horn section. It was a fun event tonight until Joe Biden got up there, and then it was a yawn. Well, I should say that now. Tim Kaine. Oh man, I almost fell asleep in the loudest room in America.
Tim Kaine's super boring. Also way littler than I expected him to be. This is the first time I've seen him. As far as the Virginia politicians, I love watching Luria talk. Elaine Luria was there. She's my representative, and I absolutely loved getting to see her talk.
She was a really good advocate. But by far the rock star of the evening
was the mayor of Richmond.
Lonnie, I looked it up and then I forgot.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. They went through a lot of people, like we said. They rolled out every major Democrat in Virginia, and there's something to be said for that.
Not true. Abigail Spanberger was not there.
They did not bring out Spanberger. Spanberger would have been big, but I think he's speaking at Richmond.
I also don't think she has endorsed him yet.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I know that the endorsements are they've really been rolling in.
But Abigail was notably absent, considering there's a big congressional delegation there, and Abigail Spanberger, who is kind of a rock star, was noticeably absent.
She is a bit of a rock star. Her and all those guys who got together to put out that letter, Luria was part of that as well. They really put their asses on the line with that, and especially somebody like Luria in the district I live in. So, did they
say that was an R+20 district?
That she won?
That was a Republic +20 district?
Probably, I'm going to be honest with you, based upon, what I know of the place that I grew up in. But I'd rather you guys not listen to us order food, so we're going to cut it there.
Go vote, Super Tuesday.
Super Tuesday, get out and vote. We've got to get as many people as we can. It's all about voter turnout. We got to keep voting. We got to keep volunteering, donating, and we've got to keep on looking ahead to better days.